Hello and welcome to this week's Devil in the Detail podcast. I'm Rob Parkinson and I'm here talking all things Salford Red Devils. Joining the show this week, as ever, we've got Paul Parkin. Parker, the rumour has it, today has been one of the greatest battles ever seen has taken place. You've had Muhammad Ali, Joe Fraser. You've got Big Daddy against Giant Haystacks. You've got the Cold War, Russia and America fighting it out. You've got man against machine. Cheer went up. The rumour has it. Talk us through the gargantuous battle between you and the new dishwasher.
Yeah, well, it's been a struggle. It's been a tough day, let's say that. There's been plenty of expletives being shouted across the kitchen. I don't know if anyone's ever tried to refit an integrated dishwasher back into the units when it's raised up. It was an absolute, it's been mayhem. It really has. I've never known anything. I don't know how the guy did it in the first place. We had to take it out to fiddle about with stuff. We fixed it, put it back. It's taken basically all afternoon and about a couple of hours of the evening to get it in. And I'm not joking. That's how long it's took. I've lost my mind with it. I didn't think it'd be that difficult. I thought we'd just lift it, slide it, it'll be fine, it'll be in. No, goes in on different angles, doesn't it? It's not. Yeah. But it's in and working. We're happy, so we can move on now, and hopefully nothing else goes wrong.
And you find when people you get your new appliances and they deliver them, it's always a massive 6'8" monster just picks up with one hand and slides it in. If you get them to do it, you know what I mean. And then when you see that happen, you think it's easy. We can do this. No.
I mean, I had that with the bathroom we had fitted late last year. We'd ordered it all, and it came. The guy knocked on the door and he said, "I've got your stuff for your bathroom. Where do you want me to put it?" And I went, "Well, I don't know. Where do you normally put it?" He said, "I'll just put it in. You can take it in and leave it in the street." He put this thing down in the street, and it took up half the street, and he expected me to bring it all in the house on my own. And he just got back in his truck and drove off, and I was like, I'm not fitting it. What's this?" It was just tons of stuff, and I thought, I couldn't. You carrying a bath in, yeah, you can do it, but your doorway's only so wide, and the bath's as wide as the doorway. It was that was a nightmare and all. But they just make it look so simple. They go, "Oh yeah, that'll be fine. Put it in." But yeah, no, we're all done, and hopefully I don't have to do it again for some time. But saying that, the washing machine will go now, won't it?
Yeah, and so basically the headline news: dishwasher is in. That's all that matters. That's the thing you're going to take from this podcast today.
Yeah, it definitely won. The dishwasher won.
I've been busy. I've been updating our website, and I've been getting ready for our big announcement, which hopefully is going to happen next week. We're going to keep it under wraps for this week because there's lots to go at. But it's exciting. It's a first for the podcast, and hopefully everyone will be chuffed to bits. So I'll leave you all with that, dangling in front of you all, tempting you to listen to next week to find out what the big news is. And we'll start with the defeat against Wigan on Sunday. So Salford Devils were beaten at home to Wigan Warriors. They lost 26 points to 6. Parker, talk us through it.
Do you know, it's hard to know where to start with Sunday. The whole euphoria about the day. I mean, it was a magnificent event. The whole thing before. I know we can talk about that later on, but and I got in the ground and there was a buzz and it felt good. And I thought, we'll be well up for this. We'll be, the guys will be fired up, especially after last week. We weren't on it at all at Craven Park. And again, I just think we were a little bit flat again. I'm not saying it was a poor performance. I'm not saying we were bad. I just don't think we were anywhere near the levels we've set ourselves, which is obviously disappointing, but that's a sign of how far we've progressed. I mean, I thought Wigan controlled the game. I thought they were a better team. I'm not going to knock them. They got a couple of contentious scores off us, which when you look back and review them, you think that's a bit dodgy. But that happens in a game. You've got to rise above it, I think. But yeah, again, we just didn't seem to have that fire, that hunger in us. And I don't know if there was something gone on, whether there's an illness in the camp or something like that, because I saw quite a few players really blowing and gasping for air and struggling to get back into the defensive line a lot of the time, which we've not done. We've not looked like that. And there were players who don't do that, not players who you go, yeah, well, he has got that in him or something like that. It was strange to see. So I don't know if the lads have had I don't know if there's a virus in the camp or something like that. And but it was just a shame that we didn't live up to the hype for the crowd that turned up. It was a bit flat, and I think it killed the vibe a little bit. But no, I'm not. I'm disappointed in the result, and I know the performance wasn't to the levels, but you got to remember who you're playing. They're a good team, Wigan, and I think they just dominated us a little bit too much.
Yeah, I think we huffed and puffed a lot. I think no Ackers, no Brodie Croft, no Ryan Briley. So that's a 2/3 of your spine not there. So we're lacking a bit of creativity in a way. Tries just before and just after half time for Wigan sort of changed the landscape of the game for me as well. But we did stay in it. I think it's the kind of game that we were looking 10 years ago. Wigan put 50 on us and we all ended up crying our beard after the game. So in a weird way, it's kind of progress that this team, even though they didn't look like endangering Wigan at all, they stuck in and grinded, but ultimately Wigan took the points.
Yeah, I said this after the game. I spoke to Paul Whiteside, and obviously my brother and everyone around me, and I said that we've been beaten by 26 points to 6 to Wigan, and I spent the best part of 40 odd years wishing for results like that. It's always been a 40 and a 50 or something like that. I know we come up with big wins against Wigan, and we always remember them more than we do other teams. But Wigan are a decent side, but we contain what they tried to do, but we give them a little bit too much time in the kicking game. I think we give Harry Smith far too much respect for him to put them bombs in the air, which were going. I mean, they were incredible. Like watching Jordan Abdul and some of his that he does for Rovers. And he put us under some real pressure. By the time we've caught the ball, there's 3 or 4 men knocking us over, and we as we know, we do struggle to go forward. I think we know we've had a problem in that department for a couple of years with big forwards. One player I will mention, I know we lost Ryan during the game, which is a massive shame. Like you said there, you won 6 and 9 missing. It's going to be virtually impossible for any team to win games. A player that we're really missing is Shane Wright for me. He offers so much as a back rower. I think he's a tremendous player. I know we've got obviously Cal, who I thought was magnificent the other day actually, and Stone, who's been great for us. But Shane Wright just seems to offer us something more. He's all over the game, and I think we miss him a lot more than we thought we would. And it gives us. We have a lack of depth on the bench. I looked at our bench on Sunday, and before the game, I thought it's not strong enough to be going into a top 6 battle, I don't think. And at the end of the season, if we're in the playoffs, we've got to make sure we've got a fully fit squad, because if we don't, that's where we'll get tripped up. It's how you interchange players and who you've got to bring on. And without those, the 3 we mentioned, and Shane Wright and Alex Gerrard, people like that, it's a real struggle. We're so low on numbers. I know we do it tough most weeks, but we're going to need a fully fit team if we're going to make if we're going to stay in this top 6.
Yeah, we're digging deep, but this is like a stress test of the whole squad, really. And that's an important thing going into a playoff situation, that you've got a whole squad who have been involved in that stress test and know how they can perform under pressure. So I'm not too concerned at the moment that we've got lack of bodies, but when it comes to playoff time, and like you say, you're hoping for a fitter squad, at least then players who have been in this sort of stress test will hopefully be able to rise to the occasion later on in the season, which is what we all want. So let's have a quick look back at the timeline, Parquet, of the game. Joe Shorrott's opened the scoring for Wigan after a bit of pressure on our line. Kick through, he dived on the score 4-0.
Yeah, again, we've had a bit of problem with that recently, haven't we? We look very, very soft in them areas. It's not a great try to concede. Again, you're giving players who've got a decent kicking game too much space and time, and they'll kill you doing that. I don't know what the stat is, but how many tries in rugby league these days are scored from kicks? rather than, you know, ball through the hand. It's a part of the game we've really got to tighten up on, especially near our line. We seem to just switch off, or I don't know what it is. Defensively, I don't usually have a problem with us. I think we're, you know, especially on our line, we can defend and defend sets, and we had to do it again on Sunday at times and come away with it. But it's those kicks we just seem to struggle with a little bit.
Yeah. Salford hit back, try from Ben Hellawell, lovely pass from Mark Sneed, sends the forward over for his first try for Salford.
Yeah, it was a good try, wasn't it? It was well worked. Obviously, a move they looked at and planned, and I thought Ben was really good again on Sunday. To be fair, he really puts his shift in. So it's good that he's got over the line and he's off the nudie run. I'm sure he's happy about that. Especially the weather at the Salford Stadium, because it's freezing there most of the year. But yeah, again, it was good play, and the thing was, and I felt like this, I always do most weeks. If we get into the opposition's 20, I always think we're a threat. I always think we're going to score. We've got that much creativity and, you know, and pace and everything about us. But we don't do it enough, and we certainly didn't on Sunday. But that just showed that little bit, and we thought, oh, we can break these. We're not going to do it from our own half. But we get them on their line, and we struggled to get meters and get into their half. But that on that occasion, it was well worth. Mark Sneed timed the pass to perfection, and Ben had a stroll in.
Yeah. So we led 6-4. Approaching half time, though, Wigan scored. Lovely ball by Harry Smith. He sent Jai Field through a gap. He fed Liam Farrell. He crashed over to make it 6-8 half time.
Yeah, it just shows realistic. It was one missed tackle, and they've gone through and scored, and that's how crucial it is. That's how they're the fine lines we're working with, especially at the top half of the table. I think I know who the player was, but I don't know enough confidently to say it, so I won't blame anyone. But he seemed to just bounce off a little bit and didn't make full contact, and it made it easy for Wigan to go through. But fair play again, you know, it was good try. They backed up well, and that's what Wigan do. The one thing that I will say about them is, as I said to everybody at the gate, they do everything right. They do everything perfect. They may not be as glamorous as watching us at times or saying tellings or whatever, but they do things perfectly. You know, they'll defend perfectly. They'll attack. They'll give away a technical penalty when they need to. You know, they hold you down for that extra second, but don't get penalised because it's something they know how to wrestle you. They know how to make it like it's your fault. And that's full credit to Wigan. You know, if they're clever enough to do that. And that's what you've got to be. You've got to be 100% right the way through the game. And one missed tackle and you score.
Yeah. Second half started brighter for Salford. Opportunity on the right. Ball went to ground. Ball went out of play. From that, Wigan went up the field. Mistake from Salford. Wigan from the scrum. We're over in the corner. 14-6 Wigan. And it's the game just turned on its head.
Yeah, it was a well-worked try. I mean, scrum moves now are far more important than they've been at any other time. There's a little bit of skullduggery at times in the scrum, the way the ball's held in and everything. But we made the mistake of watching their players run whichever way, and we were darting about a little bit, and the ball was still in the scrum. You know, I think we were triggered a little bit too quick, but we still should have tackled him. He should have been held. There was, you know, enough bodies there to stop that. And again, another soft try that we didn't need to concede. They may have scored off that. You know, they had sort of 6 players on our try line. There's every chance they could have done, but it was well worked try, but soft on our part. But at that point, I thought that might be our wake up call. Now it might give us the kick, but again, we didn't ignite.
No, Wigan scored again after Farrell's second try. Field and King combination sends him through a gap, and then the final try for Wigan, interception. Marshall runs 90 metres. There was talk of a Dion Cross being obstructed in the air, which could have been a possible penalty, but I suppose in games sometimes you get the rub of the green and sometimes you don't, and Marshall raced away for the score.
Yeah, that's one of the ones I'm talking about. That, I mean, that is if that's on Sky, that's, you know, with the screen in the ground, that's not a try. That's a penalty. Salford, we're on the attack. He definitely makes contact with the man in the air. He hasn't gone for the ball. He's pushed him. The player's gone down. Ball's come out. Wigan race away. The disappointing thing is, and it's easy to blame the referee, but the linesman was stood literally a yard away. He's on the touchline. He's looking at that play happen. He's the one that's got to intervene at that point. And that's where you start asking questions of, well, he couldn't have missed it. So has he just misread it, or has he decided he's not giving that? Because he's got to help the referee a little bit. But yeah, I mean, Marshall's shown great pace, and everyone's gone on about this pace he's shown. I watched Joey Burgess run from the opposite side of the pitch and nearly catch him. So he turned around Burgess and had to run across the pitch and still nearly got him. So I'm not sure it was that rapid, but yeah, it's a penalty to us that. But it, like you say, some you get, some you don't, and that was one we didn't.
Yeah, we're joined by Paul Whiteside, fresh from keeping Britain warm. Which was the best Costa coffee you used this week on the
Paul? Oh, do you know I've had a Costa today? I've had two, actually. I had one at Portwood, Tesco garage this morning, and then I was working in Timperley and Hale Barnes this afternoon, so I went to the
Posh Coffees.
The little one at the airport, like where all the airport staff go to. Near, where is it now? It's near the tunnels, that go under the runway. I go in that one because I park up, and then you can hear the planes taking off, and I like to, when they go in a certain way, I like to watch them taking off. So I'm a bit of a geek like that. And I was coming down Simon's Way in Wythenshawe this morning, and a big jumbo flew right over my van, and I was in my element. I was saying to Ellen the other night, it's my dream job. My dream job is to what job I'd love to do is the guys that guide the planes in.
All right.
When they land, they've got like them table tennis rackets. They're not table tennis rackets, but you know what I mean, don't you? I'd love to do that. Be like the ground staff. That'd be my dream job. I'd do that for free.
Well, yeah. You've been doing a match report and just forget they're still backing up the plane.
No. There's something magical about airplanes and airports. I love it. I just think it's dead exciting. So,
brilliant.
Bit of a geek.
Thoughts on the Wigan defeat?
I thought Wigan were the far better side in that second half. I thought the first half was quite close, really. I don't think there was a lot in it. We looked, for me, I thought we was very poor on last tackle plays. We dead predictable. The kicking game was really predictable. And I don't get this kicking out wide for wingers. I mean, the try that Marshall scored, I thought was a foul on Burgess. I thought he got tackled off the ball, sort of thing, and then Marshall went away. That's a penalty, that. But I thought we were a bit soft in defence. The one that Miski scored, I thought we should have done better with that. Burgess, I thought he had a bit of an off day, to be honest with you. We had a bit of juggling about to do, didn't we? Briley going off and Croft missing and Ackers missing. So I think when your spine gets affected like that, it does put you off your game, doesn't it? And you could tell we weren't much with the ball at all, were we? So I thought they worked hard, but I thought the pack got dominated again as well. So yeah, not a great day really, because I don't think Wigan are a brilliant side, but they were better than us.
Yeah, we spoke to Sam Stone, Joe Burgess, and Paul Rowley after the game. This is what they had to say. So Paul Rowley, Paul obviously disappointed with the result.
Yeah, he was disappointed. You could tell that, and it's difficult speaking to players and coaches after a defeat, because it's hard to keep the positives going, isn't it? Sometimes, so you all know the same because you did all the players, didn't you? And it's hard to. You don't get much out of them, really, do you? They're sort of very sombre, but I still think there's a lot going for us, Rob. We're approaching the business end of the season now, and we've not spoke about the Wakefield game. Well, that for me is a massive game. Doesn't matter who you're playing, 2 points are 2 points. It's a massive 2 points this week, and I think we've just got to approach that game with a fresh mind and just go and get that job done. And I think on the back of that, we've got players coming back then, hopefully. So Paul's always in a positive mood, isn't he? And tries to keep it upbeat, but I think all's not lost. But we've had a disappointing 2 matches, and I think you just want to quell that now, because I'm sure that's the first time we've lost 2 games in the bounce for a while. Like we've normally lost one and then bounced back, haven't we? So yeah, this week's really important.
Yeah, Joe Burgess was a broken man when I spoke to him, but obviously I just said, "Come on, chin up, Joe. We can do this." And he sort of smiled at me and walked off. But yeah, obviously, like I say, it shows it care. The players care, don't they? That's why when they get beat like that, they're a bit upset, aren't they? So, like I say, hopefully they'll look at bouncing back against Wakefield. Looking at the stats, for this week, Parker. Top tacklers, Callum Watkins, 37. King V, 28. Sam Stone, 41. Oliver Partington, 38. Tyler Dupree, 31. Adam Sidlow, 32. Amir Burrow, 40. And Ben Helliwell, 28.
Yeah, a lot of defending, certainly in that second half, because we didn't get a lot of ball, did we? And when we did, we didn't do an awful lot with it. Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. I mean, Callum Watkins, I mentioned him earlier. I thought Cal was everywhere again the other day. I thought he had a really good game. I mentioned Ben Halliwell, another player that I thought played well. But yeah, it's sad because that just drains you. When you're already low on numbers, you don't want to be doing all that defending, do you? But somebody's got to do it. You know, a couple of players there into the 40s this week. I mean, that's a tremendous effort, and that'll wear you down and take the sting out of your attack a little bit. But yeah, I mean, the trouble for me this week is, you know, going on was just the lack of bodies. We just run out, and we will struggle if that's the case.
Yeah, top meter makers. Paul Kensio, 169. Callum Watkins, 92. Tim Laffey, 124. Chris Atkin, 122. King V, 66. And Tyler Dupree, 77.
Yeah, the forwards there alarmingly aren't really in that list, are they? You know, King Vuniyayabar and Tyler Dupree, I mean, didn't make many yards at all, did they? And that's my point before, really. I thought we got beat up in the forwards, really, and you need them, you know, like I said, Tyler and King Vuniyayabar to stand up in them sort of games, don't you? And I don't know whether we did. They looked tired to me. We looked like we had a lot taken out of us, so they're going to get tested in the forwards at Wakefield. You know, they've got that Fafita back and one or two others, and you can see what's going to happen there. They're going to come out all guns blazing, a bit like Hull Carden in the Cup. So we need our pack to do better than what they did. I'd just like to mention Ken Seal. I thought he was tremendous against Wigan. I think Tim Laffey got the man of the match, which was, you know, you can't argue with that. I thought Tim Laffey was dangerous all game, but I thought Ken Seal, when adversity there, got shoved to full back, and he's an absolute natural, isn't he? You know, he was steady as anything, took all the eyeballs, defended really well, and probably just got himself the job of full-back this week at Wakefield with Ryan Briley being out. So I think Ken deserves a good mention. Just echoing what Parky said, Ben Helliwell, I think, is an excellent player. If he was a bit taller, a bit heavier, he'd be some forward, but he runs his weight. He runs his weight every week. He's not the biggest, you know, by any stretch of the imagination, but he's got a terrific engine, and I thought he put a real good shift in on Sunday.
Yeah, looking at the average gains, Tim Laffey, 8. Chris Atkin, 9. Tyler Dupree, 8. Adam Sidlow, 8. The average of the team was 7. So I don't know really. I suppose you can paint stats in different ways, can't you, Parky? But I always think with average games, it gives you an idea of in collision how far they're going.
Yeah, so I mean, Paul's mentioned it a couple of times. In their forwards, they dominated us, and they did in defence. Every time one of our lads got the ball, there was 2 or 3 on him, and we were struggling to make meters, and that we do that. But like I say, you get a couple of players back in that pack, some bigger bodies that we need, and that can change. But as it is at the moment, and was for most of the last year as well, we do struggle going forward, and we need to find other ways of doing it. And that's, again, going back to what Paul said about the kicking game earlier on. If we can get our kicking game right and pin teams down in their half, make them struggle to come out, it gives us a better starting point. There's no point us starting on our try line because we'll struggle to make the halfway, and that's not going to be good enough. So, like I said at the start, I don't think we played badly. I just don't think we were sparked enough. I don't think we were at our best, but we were beaten by the better team, and that's what happens sometimes.
Yeah, big thanks for your 3-word match reports and man of the matches. Mark, a gritty effort, Laffey. Miss TME, on to next week. Watkins, Chairman Bob, Salford firing blanks. CO, Colin Wilson, no cutting edge. CO, Stuart Smart, better team 1, Helliwell. OSF, lack of penetration. CO, Tony Frame, lack of attack. Atkins. Dave H, Ackerscroft and Briley. They were obviously the key misses. Mark Ryan, not good enough. CO. Anita, kicking game, Pants. CO. CNR, we beat ourselves. Laffey. I'm not sure whether we beat ourselves. I just think, Parker, Wigan are happy just to grind. And if we aren't matching them, they just take the game away from you.
Yeah, again, sorry, to repeat what I've said, but Wigan are brilliant at what they do. They do everything 100%. They're not flash. But they will grind you until, they beat you. They will dominate a game. They won't be throwing the ball about through hands. They're not a great watch. Let's say that. And he's definitely nowhere near the greatest Wigan team any of us have ever seen. But they do things right. And any little mistake you make, they'll pick up on that. And they don't make mistakes. How many times did they drop the ball? How many times did they miss tackles? How many penalties? And if they do give penalties away, it's on their terms. That's the difference to it. That kind of level that we need to be at every single week. But we're going to struggle if you don't get your full bodies out, and that's what happens. But yeah, I don't really think perhaps we beat ourselves. I just don't think we were in the game.
Yeah. Paul Greeno, the big picture. Tim Laffey, Chris Worsley, Miss our spine, Ken Seal, Pete Grimshaw, Grubber Kick Please, Partington, Davey Stape, no ideas in attack, Watkins, Ryan Fisher upon attack, Mike Murphy, we go again, and Mike Farrell ref was post need, Paul, but yeah, I suppose frustration, like Parky said, we're going to know how to play, and obviously in the grind, they win.
Yeah, I don't think Wigan were like dead flamboyant and flashy. They played very much like an NRL team play, don't they? Not making many mistakes and dominating you. I mean, I saw their game against St Helens a few weeks ago, and St Helens absolutely smashed them. And they looked, it was men against boys in that sort of game. So, I wouldn't say Wigan are shooting for grand final or anything like that. I think they'd probably be up there, but I think when you talk about levels, there's probably a bit of a distance between them and Saints when Saints are on the game, but. Yeah, they're tough. They're tough to beat. They've got that flair as well if they need it. I mean, I don't think they were that clicking. I mean, Field and French, we kept them fairly quiet, didn't we? But I think the pack are tough. I thought that Brad O'Neill had a good game for him. He's a decent player. They've got some good forwards there, some big forwards as well, and they take it out here, don't they? So you look at the size of their pack, some big lads in there. The lad from. What's his name? He's a local Salford lad. The caddy, like Liam Byrne. I mean, I saw him coming out after the game through the change. He was absolutely massive, huge lad him. And that Shorrocks as well as a clever player. So they've got some good players, Wigan. They're no mugs, are they? So, but no, it's just the result was disappointing. But when you factor in the players we had missing, I think that's the role about Alex Gerrard. He's another big miss for us, in the pack as well. So. You are doing it tough with players missing, and you take your hook. I think Andy Ackers is a big miss. I know everybody was talking about Brodie Croft, but I think Ackers is a massive miss. Amir Burrows, a young player, not very experienced, still learning his trade. Ackers is, a seasoned England international, isn't he? And you miss him round the ruck and his distribution as well. So, yeah, it's one of them. You've got to move on from it. But Wigan are no mugs.
No. Let's move on to the reserves, Parky. They were in action on Monday night. They played Wigan reserves at the Salford City Stadium community pitch and went down 42 points to 12. 2 tries from Nathan Connor was the highlight for Stuart Wilkinson's men. But we know obviously Wigan are a top side. Their players in their reserves are pushing for a Super League start. So for our lads to put that effort in and give them a game, especially early on. I think we were in the lead early on as well, which is a good thing. But unfortunately, Warriors won.
Yeah, I sent our roving reporter down there. Well, my brother was down there watching it. And he was giving me regular updates. And early on, it sounded like we were in control. We scored 2 tries early. I'm probably shocked Wigan a little bit. And then there was an incident in the game where I believe one of our wingers tackled Wigan, played into touch, and it looks like the actual corner flag has gone into him, stabbed him, snapped, and actually stuck in him like a spear. So he's had to be shipped off to hospital. So I think it was like a 30-40 minute delay or something.
Wow.
So the game, obviously, when things like that happen, they can change, the whole mood of your team and everything else. And there was another incident later on. I think an ambulance was called, but I'm not sure what happened with that. I don't know if that was related to the game or something else at the stadium. I don't know. But yeah, we got to a good start, and I said last week how tough it was going to be against Wigan. It always is at every single level, and they just they've got that many players. They just pick them up from anywhere, don't they? And I believe that the lad that played against Leeds the other week, I think it might have been in the cup, and had a great game. Nsemba or something, I think he's called. I think he scored a couple for Wigan. You know, when you've got backup like that who make the debut at Headingley and you know, compete with Super League forwards, and then you know our lads they're not at that level yet. They're not that developed. It was going to be tough, but yeah, we stayed in the game. We kept having a go, and it was just just one of them nights where you learn a little bit more from the defeat. You see how Wigan do things, how their players, how they interact, and hopefully we can pick something up from that and move forward.
Yeah, Junior December, he scored a hat-trick against Salford. But like you said, played against Leeds in the cup. You know, he's got a bright future by the sound of it. Paul, obviously, like Parky said, it's a learning experience for the lads. Obviously, Stuart Wilkinson, his sort of plan and his brief is to build sort of rugby players and good people as well. So he necessarily isn't looking at sort of the finished article at this point.
No, it's still a work in progress, isn't it? You look at Wigan and it's been like a conveyor belt of players coming through their system for since I started watching rugby league. Anyway, they've got a fantastic junior set up there. The schools around Wigan and their academy and everything. It's probably the best one, isn't it? I mean, them and certainly Leeds. I'd say Wigan's probably the best academy out of all of them and the best sort of route. So you're playing against their reserve team. These are lads that are banging on the door now and probably been in that side and in that environment for a number of years, haven't they? So, it's different for us. We've not had a reserve team or this sort of pathway for very long, have we? So it does take time to bed into place. But from what I've read and saw, we didn't do too bad in that game. And like you said about the injuries, I did hear about that. I saw John Blackburn and mention it on one of the WhatsApp groups that someone had been impaled by a corner flag. And when I saw that, it just made me sort of cringe and wince because it doesn't sound nice at all. So hopefully the injured players are all right and are recovering well.
Yeah, obviously thought so with them. Hopefully, like I say, they'll be fit and ready to play rugby league again soon. Moving on to the PDRL team, Parky, they were in action in a festival in Manchester on Saturday. They played Castleford and Warrington on the same day. Battled hard, but went down to defeat. But it wasn't all about the winning. It's about the playing and enjoying and playing as a team.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's the key to this at the moment, isn't it? I mean, they go into it every time with such the enthusiasm and the belief that they can win, obviously. But it did sound like it was a lot of fun. I know I read a few comments on Twitter about it was the whole thing was well put together, and all the teams give it a good go, and it was a great little sort of festival, if you like. And that's what that's what it's all about. It's sometimes it isn't about the winning; it is about taking part and having the opportunity to take part is the main thing now. And so it sounded like it was a great experience. Everyone had fun, and these teams are developing the sport and that sort of avenue of the sport for our lads and ladies. They're pioneers.
Thoughts, Paul?
Say again, sorry, Rob.
So, your thoughts on that? Obviously, the progress that they've been making.
Yes. So just echoing what Parky said, really, it's great to see people being involved, and I know we read about it every week, don't we? And see the photographs of people enjoying themselves and playing rugby league, and like Parky said, it's not always about the winning; it's about enjoying yourself and making these friendships and things, isn't it? And keeping yourself busy. So I think they're doing really, really well.
Yeah, so that's all the action from this week's games, and now we'll see what's happening in the world of Salford Devils. So we'll start with the celebration, the big attendance on Sunday, the Armed Forces Appreciation Day, a record 7,854 spectators, Parker, a record of attendance, like I said, a huge reward for all the hard work that the club have put in and also the fans promoting the game.
It was an amazing success. It was a brilliant day. Even the inclement weather couldn't alter that. The whole thing before the game, we got down there as early as we could, really, and we took our niece down with us to sample it because we knew what was happening. She was going to the fair and see the soldiers and that kind of thing, but. The whole thing, the music stage, the musicians, I thought were brilliant. I thought the bands were superb. I I felt like I was at Glastonbury for a bit on that weekend. Made sense. It was brilliant. The whole thing, the vendors, you had the ice cream vans, you had the beer sales, hot dogs, you can get pizzas. That's what it's all about. That's what me and Paul have said 1,000 times. That that's not us. We go for a game of rugby, but that's not going to do anybody any harm, because that was brilliant. I was impressed by it, and long may it continue. That's all we can keep that going, because anyone who was there the other day would have been impressed. And if it's your first time, you're going to go, do you know what? Despite the result, I enjoyed that day. Let's go again. My wife came with me as well, and she's not been for a while. She absolutely loved it. She stopped talking about what a great day it was for the last couple of days. What a load of fun it was, and everybody seems to enjoy it. And I can't, I think the club have just done a tremendous job. And if that's what the money that was raised is going to help us to achieve, then brilliant. That's where it needs to be spent.
Yeah, extra 2,500 people. Paul, like Parky said, there's a level of expectations, that when they come to the game, they expect that level of entertainment off the field. So it will be interesting to see what happens next.
I expect it on the bloody field as well, Rob. Always joking. Yeah, well, the next two games are against home games after the Wakefield game. We've got Lee and Leeds, haven't we? Or the other way around, I think it is. So you've got two good games there where you can look for big crowds as well, and put things on. And I believe there are things going to be happening, aren't there, at these matches? I'm not too sure. I saw Shirley Bradshaw put a list of things that were going on, the games where what was being involved. You might be able to tell me, but
I've got them here.
Yeah, there's definitely events going on, things going on. I know there's a lot of ex-players going to be coming to the St. Helens game. I've been helping Paul King and John Blackburn and David Clegg out with that, trying to get all the players and that. So that should be good to watch this space for that one. But yeah, there's loads of good things in it, and I really enjoyed the day. It sent our imaging on the way home. It really was a good atmosphere. We weren't dead early getting down there, but the whole buzz of the place was brilliant, and it was great because I was sat in the West Stand and I turned round in the first just before half time, and Gareth Haggerty was sat behind me, and I had a chat with him at half time. I said, "Wow, I remember you playing, and you're a bit of an hero of mine in 2003." Because obviously Gareth's brother now, Kurt, is our assistant coach, and I had a good chat with him, and he was telling me what he was up to now, and he was saying what a fantastic day. He's a St. Helens lad, I think. So, he was saying they're doing a great job. He'd not been back to Salford for years, and he was really impressed. And I think everybody was here in the crowd, weren't they? It was a great day, and that gun thing that went off before the game, that oh god, I think it reset my heartbeat that about 3 times, because it just it just went straight through. And it was great, and it was such a shame that they couldn't have the parachute people coming down, because I know they couldn't because of the weather and what have you. But no, it was really, really exciting day. And just going back to something I thought of the other week, when we went to Hull KR in the Cup, I was really impressed with what they were doing, because they have this thing, I think we might have talked about it before, behind the sticks at the open end. They have what they call Craven Street, and it literally is all like food things and bits of stalls and bits and bobs. And then after the game, all that stays open and there's music on. And they even allow everybody onto the pitch as well, so kids can just play on the pitch. The adults can have a walk on the pitch. I don't know whether they'll allow that at Salford, but that's what happens there. And I think it just adds to the day, because once the match finishes, the day's not finished. You can still enjoy it. You can have a drink and have a chat with your friends, talk about the match, what's going on. And I think it just adds to the occasion, all that.
Yeah, I just hope somebody somewhere was collecting all the new emails and new telephone numbers of these 2,500 people, so we could spam them for the next game. Like you said, Paul, there's different celebrations coming up to celebrate. And each game, there's Mental Health Awareness Day, there's St. Anne Hospice Takeover Day, there's 150-year party, there's Pride, there's Blue Light Celebration Day, and Homelessness Day, Parker. So it's great. Obviously, the club have got these sort of stacked up now, and now they can plan for them.
Yeah, and it's delivering what was promised. This is what was said at that meeting a few weeks ago of, or around that, of what the club wants to do and how the club are going to promote, the games and everything that we've not been able to do before, because they haven't had the right people in place to help promote the game. They don't have the money to do it. And now you can see straight away the instant impact. And we need people to turn up. We need those that were there the other day to turn up again. We won't have the same following that Wigan brought, because they turned out in big numbers as well. And, fair play to them, and thanks to them. Lee will, when they come down, they'll bring a load. Saints, Warrington have still got to come. So we will get big crowds for them, but we need the ones that we brought. The Salford fans need to come back. But no, it was really well done on Sunday. I thought the guys who organised it from the armed forces side as well. I know Roy and a few of the guys there that have put in a lot of work to make this happen, to get everybody together. That Paul mentioned that cannon going off. I couldn't even, my eyes are like, I couldn't even see it. I didn't know it was there. So when that went off, that was a shock. But yeah, just seeing everybody there, and it made the day better. It made the atmosphere better, and to see the ground like that, and I was sitting at the front of the West Stand, and I looked round, and I couldn't believe what I was seeing, the amount of bodies that were around, and then I looked at the South Stand, and obviously the North Stand with the Wiganers in it. It looked brilliant. If we could have that every week, that's all we asked for. And it may not be the best part of 8,000 every week, but if we get 6.5, 7, that's massive, and that must help the team as well. I know it didn't this week, but for whatever reason, but you get a crowd behind you on your side. It must help you. It must give you a big kick. So we need to keep going at that, and I'm looking forward to the rest of the season now.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting. Like I said, the things that really impressed me, like you said, the fair was great, the live music was great. They I think need to stay. I don't know, obviously, the money situation and balancing the books and all that. It's going to be interesting to see what happens next. They had a veterans game on the Astro turf, didn't they, as well, which was good. Obviously, with games coming up, you could have the ladies playing, you could have the reserves playing, you could have the PDRL or the learning disabilities team playing on the community pitch as well. The foundation are kind of experts in this kind of festival thing, so they've got things that they can bring out, like throwing balls through the holes and things like that. So it will be exciting to see what happens next. Paul, and like I say, which ones have then stand out for you as ones to look forward to?
What are the ones that are coming up?
Yeah,
I'd say the 150 year one. If there's the players are going to it, I think that'd be really special. Hopefully they can get them all on the pitch. I think it all rises the crowd, doesn't it? I'd like to see things like that. Perhaps next year have like a 70s day when we all dress in 70s clothes and celebrate the 1970s, the 70s team, and maybe the 80s team, get players who played in the 80s, players who played, that sort of thing, that's more the rugby league side of it, I suppose, and I'm just obsessed with that, really. But, I think there's all sorts of stuff you can do, isn't there? But I'm looking forward to that. I think that'll be a great day, that, you're playing St. Helens as well. But interesting, those other things that you mentioned, the hospice people coming and the homeless day. I don't know what that entails, but it's awareness, isn't it? And it doesn't matter who you are in the community. If you're part of the community and you're Salford and you want to come to the game, the club should be for everybody. You should open arms to everybody. So then that's what it's all about, isn't it? Now, and you might get the odd. I saw some negative stuff on the over the weekend saying, "Oh, you already got that crowd because it was free tickets went out and stuff like that." But you know what? So what if that happens? If we can get a big crowd in there every week and everyone's enjoying themselves, that's what it's all about to me. So I love it. I think it's brilliant. And yep, let's hope we can get another big crowd against. I think is it Leeds? It's Leeds the next game. I'm getting it mixed up, Leeds and Lee. I think it's Leeds the next one, isn't it? So that's always a good game against them. So let's hope it's another good weather day and we can make it into another festival of rugby league. With loads going on.
Yeah. Like you say, the Pride Day, the 150 years celebration, both be wonderful party experiences, I think, for everyone to enjoy. Parker, the blue light will be just like the army, but as a domestic level. So lots of activities for the kids to get involved in there too.
Yeah, well, obviously the blue light will be, emergency services, won't it? Ambulance and police and fire and so on. Yeah, I think what we've got to remember is that we are the community club, and we've got to represent everybody in the community. that's what we can do from now on. Now we've got the people involved, that we don't just have to focus on the big events. The Armed Forces Day is a big thing nationally as well, and certain other things. So maybe next year, like you say, we look at certain demographics of the city and try and encourage people to come along from that, that background or whatever. And that's something we can go with. That's something, now we've got this in place and we know how to do it and we do it well, then we can run with that. It's a format that we can use and just keep going forward. But I am looking forward to the 150th celebration one. I think that'll be a good day for us all. And hopefully, like you say, we can get ex-players down and that kind of thing and have a real sort of party. I mean, talking of ex-players, I know we mentioned Gareth Haggerty. I saw Graham Allroyd, Kevin Fox was there, so quite a few. I think Paul Fletcher was there as well. Not sure, but yeah, so it's good to see that these ex-players are still coming, and we need to get them involved. That's another thing now that we need to encourage, because other clubs do that better than us. So that's another avenue we can look at. But no, overall, we can't complain. And so those people, I've read them, Paul, on Twitter and things from other clubs saying you only got this, or it's, is that the best you can do and all that? Well, you're damned if you do and damned if you don't, aren't you? If 2,000 turn up, you're rubbish, you haven't got any fans. Nearly 8,000 turn up, you only got that many because I don't know why anyone else cares. I really don't. It's a rugby league thing. It doesn't seem to matter in football, where Bournemouth ground only up to 10,000, but Old Trafford holds 75,000. But they play in the same league. Doesn't make any difference. They can still beat you. It's what happens on the pitch for me. But no, very encouraging, and massive well done to everybody at the club who made that happen.
Yeah, the 3 other days, Mental Health Day, St Anne Hospice Day and Homelessness Day, are probably the 3 biggest days when you look at the community and sort of highlighting them and sort of promoting what people can do and access to. So for me, it's what we can do on them days to attract people in, if you know what I mean. And I made a little list of what, obviously, spitball and what ideas, obviously, about, budgets and all that might be thrown out of the water. But here's what I was thinking. I'll give you, lads, a couple of seconds to think about ideas. I'm going to go with, you could have like an escape room type effort where you could have 3 tables and you time your escape over 3 activities, and the winners go on like a table, and then at the end of the afternoon, whoever finishes top gets a prize or something like that. You could have zorbing on the AstroTurf. You could have the ref cam, the State of Mind ref cam. That's supposed to be very good. I think I'd open a lot of eyes for our supporters if he could wear the referee's camera and watch what the referee sees when making decisions. And the final one was like a big kind of boxing punch ball thing, which you punch and get a high score, and the high score wins a prize. I'm not the guy with a budget, I don't know, but I just think you need something there that's going to attract the people in, Parker.
Yeah, I'm not sure without thinking about it. I mean, it's a difficult one because not everybody likes the same thing. Like I say, for me and certainly, for Paul, it's a case of turning up, getting in the ground and watching the match. Everything else that goes on is great to have it on, but I don't really, it doesn't influence us because we're already committed. It's what would bring in people from the outside. And I don't know. I don't really know what works in that way. I mean, the music thing I thought was brilliant. I thought the stage and all that was fantastic. And the way it was all set up was really good. I think having options on the day. I mean, the amount of times you turn up at the Salford Stadium, there's an hot dog van outside the ground and that's it. And then you just got to go in. There's nothing else. There's no beer tent or anything. Or, to have them options. I know it's not always easy if the weather's not great, but to have all that going on, and the kids could go off to the fair and there's so much to do, and that's what you need. It just needs to be a lot of different things, and a bit of a count. I mean, it's great to keep it rugby league related. I think that's always a good thing, a way of promoting and educating people about rugby league. I've seen it before where they have what they do at Magic, and the little inflatable thing where you have to run the ball as hard as you can, but you're on a string and it pulls you back and all that. You could do all that. Like you said before about getting a ball, passing a ball through the hoops. I know they've got that kind of thing. So there's lots of options, but I think the main thing to do is no matter what we put on, it's got to get the message to the people. We've got to make sure that people know that this is happening, that it's going on, and it's not. We don't want it to be a bit twee and a little bit, back to the 80s and silly like that. But we need it. You need to sell it to people, and I think you aim at certain areas each time, certain different areas for each different game. And then hopefully you can bring as many as them back into one big event. But I don't know. That's why these people are on the big bucks who make these decisions. But there's plenty you can do, and I know the club will be working on that, and they'll have some great ideas.
Yeah, instead of having an escape room, Paul, maybe you could bring a little boiler, and we could try and fix it in 60 seconds, and it blows up if you don't.
My last job on today took me nearly 2.5 hours, so they're not all easy when you've got to take them to bits. They're like bloody Meccano sets. But no, we're just talking about escape rooms. I mean, I've boxed at the AJ Bell a couple of times, and when they took us in to get changed, and that I think it's the 3rd floor. They take you on. Well, you try finding your way out of there with a boxing helmet on, because you haven't got a clue where you're bloody going. It's all different rooms everywhere. We had to get Reece Archer who come up getting us and taking us down and all that in the lift because we didn't know where we were going. It is like a maze up there, but no, like you said, you've come up with some good ideas. I think there's a lot of things that you can do, but I think the Armed Forces days has just set the ball rolling now, hasn't it? I think this has got to be an ongoing thing. I mean, you've got this summer now, the running, the business end of the season that's coming up, and I think it's something that when the close season comes, you can think about that over then for next season. Then, and there's lots of things that can happen then. What happens with you might not know, Rob, but what does Homeless Day entail? What's that?
It's a good question because I don't know, but I'm sure when the time comes, the club will announce things that are happening. That's my only concern. That obviously Blue Light, Army Day, activities for kids, isn't there? There's climbing frames, there's noises, there's big machines, there's guns, there's people wandering around in uniform. It's just exciting. The 3 we talked about are really big things in the community which need addressing, and the club highlight it, which is great. But what can be brought into that situation to bring the crowd in, and that's my only concern. I think what will the club do to say to the people of Salford, say come to the ground, watch the game, and enjoy this festival. We've got a lot going on, including this, and that's the interesting thing to see. I see, and that's why I'm hoping that something big will happen to bring the people in.
Yeah, I'm sure it will do, Rob. I'm sure it will do. We'll trust the people who they put in place. I mean, I missed the podcast, I think, last week, and you were talking about the new people that have come and joined the board. I mean, I don't personally know all the people, but I was reading about them and reading about what they're up to and things like that. And that can only be good for the club, that you've got, extra hands in there and experts in different sort of fields. So I think there's more people there now who are singing off the right hymn sheet, who are going to guide it, the club. Not the rugby side of the club, but I mean off the field with all that sort of thing, because that's just as important now, I suppose. With the future of the sport.
Yeah. So, other big things that are happening. Film night has been announced. Parker, 150 years celebrating the club. A film has been created. It's at the Keys Theatre, Lowry, on the 22nd of July. 7:30 start. £12 for a ticket. There's a Q&A for ex-players involved as well. So it sounds like it'll be a great night.
Yeah, very much so. I read about that. I got quite excited, to be honest with you. It's a sad life, isn't it? I only get out once a week, and that's for the man. They just locked me in this room. Yeah, look, that'll be brilliant. Really good. I'm interested to see what this film is. When it came out, I wasn't really sure. It just said film night. I thought, well, great expectations. What we're watching, I don't, I go to cinema if I want. It's fine, although it's a bit expensive. No, brilliant, great idea. Let's, I want to see what the video is about, but be a good night to get, everybody together. I've spoken to, a few of the lads already, and we could try and make a night of it, maybe. And it's a good chance for us all to mingle, isn't it? We don't get a chance to do that very often as fans now. So that'd be good. It's a great idea. So I'll definitely be going. Must get my ticket actually, but yeah, that should be good fun.
Yeah, you love your history, Paul. Obviously, a film like this, will be tingling you.
Yeah, certainly. I remember they were filming some stuff at the Dog and Partridge, and I was going to go down, but I'm always blooming busy and can't, so I couldn't get down to help out or to watch any of it. But I remember going to the Lowry a few years ago for the Willows Memories, and that was a cracking night. It was a really cracking film. And a lot of ex-players down there, a lot of old players that were down there. And Maurice Richards was there, and I think Mick Hennigan was down there, and one or two others. And it was great just seeing them and seeing their faces and what it meant to them. So I'm sure this is going to be one step bigger. I think this one, from the sounds of it. So and we've got the fantastic book that Graham Morris has done as well. That's out and about. I'm hoping to get that. Looks a real bit of treasure. That I know Parky was showing that on the internet the other day. He said it was a bit of rugby league porn, didn't you, Parky? So yeah, that sounds great to me. That so yeah, there's some good stuff going on. But yeah, I'm sure this film's going to be a belter.
Maybe we can put as an air quote on one of the adverts for this podcast.
Yeah, well.
So if you are interested, obviously you contact John Blackburn at salfordcc.ac.uk. And sort of organise your purchase for your ticket there. £12. Going to be a great night. We had a little chat on our WhatsApp this week, and I'm going to throw it out to our listeners as well. So I'm going to start with you, Parker. If you were going to make a film about Salford or rugby league in general, what would it be?
It's a tough one, isn't it? I think initially I thought, well, I'd like one that starts at the start of my life. To take me through the memories that I've because you forget so much, don't you? There's someone mentions me, I remember that. And I think for me, literally growing up at the Willows with my mum, working there, for 30 years, first 30 years of my life. I was first in the changing rooms at 2 months old. She was washing the kits and I was playing on the grass at the pitch. And I'd love to be able to see all that, or at least watch a film about that, about my town as a playground. It was for me. I mean, I was spoilt in that way. But yeah, I think to go back through the memories and the players that I've seen and some of the matches and that kind of thing. I think it'd be, but that's only interesting to somebody like me. I think it's a tough one, really. I think obviously the 150 years. I'd like to see a lot of footage of a film put out of Salford, of how we developed, how we got from from Cavendish Street to where we are, and that kind of a history, if you like, on film. Be interested to see who plays who. I'm not really getting to play Kevin Ashcroft, but something like that. But I think overall, it'd be nice to have a film of rugby league done like so many have, not like Up and Under. I mean, I don't remember that from the 90s. I think Samantha Janus was in it, people like that, or whatever her name is, and Neil Morrissey and so on. It was a decent film. It was all a bit too. I'd like to see a blockbuster made about some superstar who makes it, who comes from nothing, like a lot of them have. Most rugby league players have come from nothing. Like an Adrian Morley type story, or a Sam Burgess or something like that, who's gone to Australia and the lifestyle, and you can make a whole thing of it, a bit of a biopic, if you like, of a player's life. But it's a tough one, really. I mean, rugby league's, it's a very intriguing story of how we got from rugby union to where we are. The changes along the way, the changes in numbers of players, the amount of play, the amount of tackles you have, where it's played, the trophies we used to play for, and then up to breaking away into Super League, and it in itself is a drama. So I think a kind of history of rugby league, but in blockbuster fashion.
Yeah, I had written down, biodrama about a fan through the years, and like you say, different memories through his life. Maybe keep coming back to modern day where he's looking through like I suppose it'd be a pen drive now of pictures. And I suppose the twist at the end could be something like you go into like his funeral and it's not him, or something like that, just to keep everyone guessing towards the end. But yeah, that's what I've written down. I also did an idea about, like you say, player coming from nothing to being the greatest player of all time, being local. So you got two ideas that are written down there, which is great. Paul?
Yeah,
Send me a film.
Yeah, well, just echoing what you guys said. I mean, I've been doing this book for about 7 years now, and I don't get a lot of time to write because I'm always writing other bits and bobs. So every time I get a spare minute, I do a bit, and I'm progressing through it. And that's about my family following. Well, it's about my dad really, about him following him in the memories, and I'm trying to work out where to stop it because you probably could make a film about that, to be honest. But I was going to stop at the £1 million game because I started writing just before that, and then so much has happened since then. I'm just trying to find a place to finish it really. But no, that's more. Yeah, it's about a Salford supporter and about like the away trips and the journeys and your life that's built around it. Because I think when you're a supporter like you two are as well, and like everyone else who watches the club, you have a life away from rugby league as well, don't you? And that life away from rugby league clashes with rugby league all the time, doesn't it? You'll be going somewhere and you'll miss going to something because you're going to the match, and all these little stories come together, don't they? So that's what my sort of book's trying to do. Whether I'll ever get it finished, I don't know. But no, I think just I've watched a few. I don't watch a lot of stuff on the telly, but I watched a few football documentaries. I think I watched one about Nottingham Forest when Cloughy was a manager, and that was really good. That was like a sort of heartwarming rags to riches sort of story. So something like that. I think there was one about Everton as well with Howard Kendall, and my missus watched the one about Arsenal. I think that was like a more modern day one, behind the scenes sort of thing. I think Sheffield United did one with Neil Warnock about 10, 15 years ago, where they were in the changing room and things like that. And, something like that probably be exciting, especially when Kukash was there, sort of sacking Yesti Harris and pinning up against the wall at half time, so whatever happened. So I think there's loads of stuff you could do with rugby league. I think, films and things like that. I think, there's loads of great stories, isn't there? And especially Salford, we're like the most exciting club going. Some of the stuff that happens to us, I mean, Wigan and St Helens, boring compared to us. What's happened to us in the last 10 or 15 years.
Funny story. The podcast group that I go to, the Mick podcast group, there's a lady there trying to get funding for a little sort of docu-film about when rugby league broke away from rugby union. And she told me all about that and how far down the line it is. So that's something to look forward to. That might come out shortly. My other idea, the one that Parky didn't subconsciously nick, was our ladies team, a film about their journey from being created to becoming a team, winning the championship, winning the cup, being promoted to Super League, and then I'm sure the film ends probably by winning a grand final, and then that'd be a fantastic film, like Mighty Ducks. It'd be a mint film, that Parky.
Yeah, it could be. I mean, the thing is, the one thing about rugby league, and it makes it a film itself, is he's kind of died a little bit recently in the last few years, but it's never been short of characters.
Mm.
You know what I mean? There's always somebody in every team who's a villain or a hero or whatever. It's always happened. I mean, do you remember the documentary they did about the Lions tour a few years back? And Great Britain going over to Australia for the first time in God knows how long and all that. And it's brilliant to see all that behind the scenes, see the training, see what goes on in the hotel, and the interaction between players who don't play together. And you see these characters come out that you didn't know existed. Mm-hmm. And it'd be interesting to see from a player's point of view. Man, I remember going, through the 80s, being in and around the changing room, even on a training night. Some of the stories that I could tell you, you just wouldn't believe them, but they're true. Things like Ian Gormley turning up in his car, I think it was a Porsche or something. He gets out and he's got this massive Rottweiler with him for training, which he decided to leave with me and my mate. Now, at that time, I'd never handled a dog. This dog was bigger than me and vicious. And he just, there you go, lads, just look after that. Went off training. You think, what? That wouldn't happen anywhere else in the world. No other sport would go with that. It was crazy. One night where they were training and Tommy Graney, the assistant coach to Kevin Ashcroft, he was on the shed roof fixing the roof while the training was going on. Just things like that. You think, what did that really happen? Absolutely crazy. And rugby league players are characters. So no matter what film you made with them in it, male or female, I think you'd find there'd be a few laughs and a few tears along the way.
Yeah, So I'm going to chuck it out to our listeners now. Give us your ideas for Gen Rugby League film or film about Salford Rugby League. Tweet us, let us know, and we'll read the best ones out next week. Other bits of news, Lance Todd Trophy dinner has been announced. It's taking place at the 235 Casino in Manchester, the James Martin restaurant on the 15th of August. Parky, a fantastic occasion, always great. Rugby League loyalty guaranteed.
Yeah, like I said, I've not been for many years. I used to go to every one at the Willows every year. It was always a great event, and then it's been moved about since, hasn't it? I think it's been at Worsley Marriott and other places. Yeah, it is a great night, and it is Rugby League royalty. And I think the one thing that's always struck me is the player who tends to win the Lance Todd doesn't always understand the history of it and what it's all about. And you get them there and they watch a video of it and they talk about it and you listen to what other people say and what ex-players have said about winning the trophy, what it actually meant afterwards. They don't realise till the end of the career what they've done. Only one person every year can win that trophy. It's an amazing thing. And then you see, and especially the overseas players, how it affects them, how it makes them feel. And hopefully one day it'll be one of our own who gets to pick it up in the great man's name. But no, it is a good night. I'm sure it'll be another fabulous event organised by John Blackburn and his team again and the Red Devils Association. And yeah, so if you can get a ticket and go down, because you will see, again, as I mentioned, characters in the last bit. You'll see some characters there that night.
Yeah, there's a guest speaker, there's music, there's a comedian, Paul. It's great value, like I say, if you want to mingle with Rugby League royalty, and I'm sure there'll be lots of takers up for these tickets.
Yeah, there will be. I've been to a couple of them at the Marriott, and they're brilliant. You walk in and I'm having a drink before you go in for your meal and that, and you see like past players there. I mean, one of the times I went, I think Brian Lockwood was sat with Malcolm Reilly, Ray Ashby was there, and Count Andy Gregory, and these are like greats of the game, aren't they? And especially like Mal Reilly. I mean, I saw him. He was sat in front of me at Cass the other week, and like starstruck, really. What a great player he was. And even though he was a bit of a thorn in Salford's side in the past, but no, it's a great night. And yeah, I'd like to go, hopefully, if I can save a bit of cash, a bit short of cash at the moment. But I'd love to go. I don't know where it is, that place. Is it in Manchester, that casino? Centre of town, I think, isn't it?
Is it the bottom of what is it? Is it
Portland Street?
Yeah, down there.
Yeah, I think it's down there, isn't it? Yeah.
So.
Yeah, so hopefully a bit of go, because it's a great night and they always have a good comedian on as well, and everybody normally enjoys it. So yeah, hopefully I'll be able to go.
So that's all the big news coming out the club this week, and now we'll look forward to the games this weekend regarding Salford Devils. So we'll start with our ladies there in action against Featherstone Rovers on Sunday on the community pitch. 12 midday kickoff, Parker. It's going to be a good game, that.
Yeah, it is. It is. I know we met, obviously, Fev, the sort of second team, didn't we, last year? And we put them to the sword quite a bit. So I'm sure their more senior girls would be keen on a little bit of revenge. Yeah, it should be. I mean, I'm a little bit thinking about the women's game, how it seems to we play a game and then we miss a week or two and then we have a game, and then it needs, I said this a few weeks ago, it needs to be given more respect. We need to be having a game every week. I mean, it'd be marvellous, wouldn't it, if they could have played on Sunday in front of that gathering outside on one of the on the community pitch or something like that. I mean, what a boost that would have been for the ladies' game to have that many people watching at once. So it's a bit of a shame it wasn't last week, but yeah, as I said to you off air earlier on, I'm going to try and get down on Sunday, hopefully the weather holds, to see that, because like I say, we just don't get to see enough of the ladies' team at the moment, and it's a bit of a shame. They seem to, obviously, they have a good performance, and then you don't play for a few weeks. It's not going to help them. But hopefully, they've got a few bodies back that are nice and rested, and we can go on and pick up, another 2 points. But that's it's going to be sort of desperately needed. But they need more games. They need more games and a constant flow.
Yeah, impressive win against Bradford in the last outing. Paul away from home, last minute winner from YPS, took the points back down the M62. We've played Featherstone previously this season in the Challenge Cup, but went down 22 points to 8 tries from Vicky Kinney and Sage Bannister. Wasn't enough for the victory, but if you remember rightly, the second half we had no Fellinghams through injury as well, so we were running with 13, and they had a full team, so that was why in the second half they ran away with it.
Well, yeah, and they weren't that far off that day, were they? So you'd say, without all that adversity this weekend, we could turn that result around and get the victory. So I'm sure it'll be another cracking game. But yeah, like Parky said, it has been a bit run this season, the way they've not played every weekend. But no, I'm sure they're chomping at the bit to get going this weekend and get another result, particularly after that good result they had the other week.
Yeah. Chloe Billington is their star. She'll need to be watched. For me, Salford are third, Featherstone are fourth. Featherstone lost to Lee last week, 19-18. So it's going to be a really good game, I think, Parky. Obviously, hopefully a lot of people get down there on Sunday, midday, and support the ladies.
Yeah, definitely. A couple of points. And I think I noticed earlier on that it's Demi Jones's birthday today, is it?
Yep.
So we wish Demi a very happy birthday. Yeah, it should be a good game. I hope people do turn up. I saw a picture last night of the reserves. The people who turned up there, and it looked like there was a decent little following. So it'd be nice if we could have that and encourage the ladies along. Just while we're on that, I just want to mention that in my own personal world, that my good lady has decided to go back playing some 20 years after stopping. She went down to Folly Lane the other night for the Masters. With the ladies' Masters team. She was invited down by an old friend, Leanne McKiernan, who many know. And she absolutely loved it. She scored a couple of tries, and now she's been asked to play this weekend. Not sure if she's going to yet, but it's cost us a new pair of boots and all that. But no, just to say, I mean, she went down and said how good it was, this, the Masters rugby. And I know that the club promotes it for everybody down at Eccles College. And she had that much fun. It's really got me chomping at the bit again. Just not in that state of fitness at the moment. But yeah, just to say that's on down at Folly Lane. They do a ladies one. And I just thought it was worth mentioning whilst we're on the ladies game, that if you don't really want to play, full contact, you've got that option. And it's there. And she said it's a great way of staying fit. It's pretty quick and. But yeah, so she's rolling back the ears.
Yeah, Chris Bates has run off now, grabbed a pen, paused it. Emma parking. There you go, Chris.
Them days might have gone just, but yeah.
So, yeah, get yourselves down to the ladies' game on Sunday and cheer on to a win. So let's move on to Paul Rowley's men. They're in action against Wakefield on Friday night, away from home. Paul, will be a tough game. Obviously, Spine is missing. No Briley, with no Ackers. We don't know about Croft. Obviously, missed the game against Wigan, but obviously it's a tough task now.
It's a tough place to go, Robert. I mean, our record there in Super League is awful. We've won 4 out of 23, something like that. So we've only won there once, I think, since Sean McRae left. So that's how bad our record is there. So, last season, I think we were beaten there in a game we probably should have won. They always seem to be close games, don't they, against Wakefield? So I think they're going to raise their game. They've brought a few players in. Luke Gale made his debut, didn't he, against OKR last week? And they weren't a million miles off in that game, but they've had a poor season, haven't they? I think 5 games they've been nilled in, 6 games they've scored less than 10 points. So they're finding scoring points hard. They brought David Fafita back. They're going to be fired up, aren't they? Let's have it right. They had a good win against Leeds a few weeks ago, and I think they're going to come out and throw the kitchen sink at Salford. There's no doubt about that. So you've got to calm that storm early doors, haven't you? Shut the crowd down, and then take it away a bit like we did at Castleford. That's where we've got to play quick tempo, and we can score points, can't we? So if you was a Wakefield supporter, you'd be more worried about what Salford bring to the table, I would have thought. So we can't underestimate them. There's no doubt about that. But it's another 2 points. It's a massive 2 points. And it's an old adage, you get the same 2 points you get for beating Saints as you get for beating Wakefield. So it doesn't matter who you're playing. The important thing is you go there and do a professional job, get the job done, and get the 2 points.
Yeah. Paul Rowley, Parky always puts a lot of responsibility on his spine. Obviously, new players having to sort of get into that role now, does that make us more dangerous going to Wakefield because Wakefield won't know what's coming?
I'm not sure. I think I do worry a little bit about this game. Wakefield be definitely looking at this as a must win for them. In terms of they'll look at us, we're wounded a little bit with the 2 defeats on the bounce. Paul mentioned earlier, it hasn't happened very often. We are down on troops. We've got major players missing. Braley, Croft, and Ackers. Are 3 key players. I mentioned before about Shane Wright. Missing. They'll target this game, and they've got a bit of confidence. The club got a lift when Fafita came back. That's a big lift for them. The crowd will be well up for it, and we're gonna have to move players around, and it's not just those positions that are affected, is it? It's not just the fact that you haven't got the fullback that you want. It's the fact that your main winger will have to come off the wing probably to play fullback. Then you're bringing somebody else on the wing who might not have the same connection with the guy inside. And I know, you're probably going to bring in Reece Williams, who's fully capable of doing whatever if you go with Ken Seo at fullback. I don't really know what other options we got. I mean, Cross can play fullback, but then you're moving centres, and I don't know. I mean, what do? You move Watkins to second row, bring Longstaff, but I don't know. I really don't. The standoff role is an issue. I thought Chris Atkin played really well and tried his heart out, as he does every single week on Sunday. But that connection that Croft and Sneed have is key to what we do. And not having Andy Ackers at hooker and then not being able to put Chris Atkin in that role is a massive, massive blow for us. The speed of the play the ball I thought was too slow the other day. Far too many times the pass was too high or too low. So it's going to be a big challenge. I don't know, Paul Rowley won't be making excuses. He won't be saying, "Oh, we've got players missing this, that, and the other." He'll put faith and trust in all his players that he's got. They'll go out there but like Paul said, it's a tough place to go. It's a Friday night. I don't know why Wakey are playing on Friday. I think they usually play Sundays. Are they just trying to do this to make it a bit more intimidating, or what? I don't know. I don't know why they chose us to play on a Friday. I mean, it's not going to help the crowd in any way. But yeah, it's going to be tricky. It's going to be tricky. But if we're serious about being the big boy and being in the top 6, you go away to the bottom of the league and you win. And like Paul said, it doesn't matter who you play. You go with the same attitude and you go and win. If we lose on Friday and we lose, it makes it 3 in a row, and then you've got Leeds and Lee or whatever coming up and all these others. You don't want your confidence taking a knock. So we need to get back on that horse now. And it's going to be a big test. But if we can come through this with 2 points, I think it'll set us up for the rest of the year.
Big question, Paul, is do you weaken a strength in our team, which is Chris Atkin and Amir Burrow interchange to speed the ruck up? Do you move Atkin to standoff and have to bring in another hooking replacement, like say Danny Addy, for example? Does that do you do that, or do you keep Atkin and Amir Burrow in the mix as it's a strength in the way we play?
How do you mean? Because Atkin played standoff against Wigan, didn't they?
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, do you move it? Do you keep him as an interchange hooker, like as he
Right.
starts at hooker and Amir Burrow comes on, and you find someone else to play standoff, or do you put Chris Atkin at standoff?
I'm not. I think you probably have to go with Atkin at standoff for me. I mean, who else would you play then? I mean, you could try Longstaff there, couldn't you? He's pretty pacey, but it's a tough place to go to chuck him in there. So you'd probably have to go with a safe option of Atkin. I can't think of anybody else who could play the standoff role for us, really. I mean, you got Danny Addy who's played bits at halfback, but you're going to need a bit more, I think, to win this game. I think I'd go with that. I'd have to go with Atkin and Sneed, really, to be honest with you. I mean, it's a big game for Sneed. I mean, when Sneed don't play well, we normally get beat, don't we? So we need Sneedy to be on it. We need to be on it with his kicking game as well. But yeah, just going back to the hooker role, you've got Amir Burrow there, haven't you? Who else could you have in there?
I'm thinking, I'll tell you what my thought process was. You put Partington at standoff, you put Atkin at hooker, and then you have Addy at loose forward. You have Amir Burrow on the bench. So if it doesn't work, you can still move Atkin back to standoff, and then you still get Addy to be able to sort of mix between the two.
Yeah, I suppose so. Tell
To
you
be
what
fair,
else. Yeah,
Partington is probably the biggest standoff we'd ever have, mind. But let's say it weren't like Andy Farrell. He was a big second row forward. He played hooker for. He played standoff for Wigan for a while.
Yeah, you've also got Ben Helliwell as well, who's played at standoff before.
Yeah,
and he's a cracking ball handler. He's pretty quick as well. So, but is it? I don't know. Are you experimenting a bit much there? I don't know. It's a tough ground this to go to. So you need to be on your mettle. So he's got a lot of tough choices to make there. And is Brodie Croft going to be back though? Will Brodie Croft be back? We don't know. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Brodie Croft came back. You know, Paul Rowley might be playing a bit of mind games there. You know, I think he broke his finger anti or something, so you might better strap that up and get him in the team. You don't know, but be interested to see the squad when the squad comes out on Wednesday. It won't be Wednesday. Well, tomorrow we're recording this Tuesday night. It'll be Wednesday when it comes out. So see if Brodie's in it or not.
Parky, thoughts on my Renegade lineup?
Well, I've got one of my own, and it's absolutely crazy. And I can't believe I'm going to say it. I need my medication. We appear to have quite a few back rowers. I mean, we mentioned Ellis Longstaff, who's not even getting in the squad at the moment, which I don't know why we bothered bringing him on loan if you're never going to play him, but that's a different matter. We do have Danny Addy who can play the back row. We've got plenty of players in the back row. Callum Watkins is a brilliant rugby league player. Callum Watkins not move. Stand off. He's played centre. He's an international centre. Surely he could shift. I mean, even, and this is even crazier, even Tim Laffey, whose offload is unbelievable, could he not move inside? Could he not play standoff? You know, these centres are skillful players. The ball handlers, that's what they're supposed to do. That's, you know, in the old days, that's why Peter Williams, when, you know, going back a number of years, was a brilliant centre, but also an excellent standoff because he was a rugby player, you know, and he you know, his ball handling was brilliant. Crazy ideas, but I'm thinking if we're going that way, but then you don't change it. Atkin has to stay. Let's not forget, Chris Atkin is a halfback. As much as he played absolutely everywhere for us, he's a halfback. That's what he does. So him and Sneed are the obvious choice. It's just that hooking role that seems an issue. I know Addy can play there, but he's not a hooker. He's not quick enough. He hasn't got that ball handling. You know, I don't know. And I know Amir Burrow was a bit knackered the other day, but the amount of times he wasn't acting half when he should have been was alarming for me. So, yeah, and there's a number of things you can do, but you can't. I don't think you can do it. Partington at loose, no. At standoff, I don't see. I just don't think he's got the pace for that role. And if you're moving from loose forward, you are moving players about again to solve one or two problems. You're creating more. I think that's the overall thing. Then we leave it as it is. Go with what we had. Probably bring Almonroyd back in though for a bit more size off the bench. And the question is that if Kenny Seo is going on the wing, if that's going to be what we do, we're going to play Williams. Does Costello then drop out, or do we bring Costello in the centre and play Cross at fullback? Or we have got options in that way, but I'm glad I'm not the one having to make this decision.
Yeah, big decisions for Paul Rowley. Paul, for me, our record at Wakefield isn't great. It's a real stress test for the squad. Obviously, like me and Parky spoke before when we were talking about the Wigan game, it's moments like this where you see where you are as a squad, and you know this game against Wakefield with all the injuries, it's going to be a big test, and I'm just hoping, like you say, that the players can pick themselves up, and like Parky said, I think probably 20 minutes ago, put in that professional performance and get the win.
Yeah, I think what you've not got to do is write yourselves off. I mean, start whinging on about injuries, because I've seen on Twitter and Facebook already supporters moaning on writing this game off. I mean, come on, you're playing Wakefield. They've won one game out of 16. You talk about Salford here getting the grand final and getting playoffs and all that. We should be going there and trouncing Wakefield. So let's have a bit of confidence in our own ability. Don't beat ourselves before we go out. We haven't got 10 players out injured. We've got some of the important players out injured, but those players in our squad are good enough to go there and get a result. So I think sometimes you can talk yourself out of it, can't you? And say, oh, God, it's Wakefield. It's not Wakefield with blooming Neil Fox in the team, is it? You know, and David Topless and people like that. You know, this is Wakefield of David Fafita. I mean, yeah, he's all right, isn't he? But we've got players that are just as good as them. So we've got to be confident to go there and get a result. They've been garbage this season. And there's no disrespect to them, but I'd be bitterly disappointed if we can't go there and win. It'll be tough. It'll be a tough game, and we've got to respect them. But I think if we can perform and defend well, I think we've got to defend well and keep them out. Then we can score off the back of that. I think the Cass game for me the other week, they're a similar side to Wakefield, aren't they? And we won there pretty comfortably. Wakefield are going to be desperate now, because if you look at the league table, there's 6 points adrift of Castleford now. So they've got to win 4 games more than Cass to get above them, and they've only won 1 out of 16. So that relegation door is sort of open for them now. When they need to win. If they lose to us, they're running out of matches, really, aren't they? So yeah, I'm confident we'll get a result.
Maybe us fans, Park, need a pep talk from Paul.
Yeah, well, yeah, I'm sure Paul Rowley's got his own way of motivating the team, and Kurt and everybody else at the club. So, yeah, they could do with it. I think they just need a restart a little bit at the moment and a bit of luck. The last couple of weeks we looked a bit flat, and obviously injuries don't help that. But we've just got to come out and say, this is the one. We win this game. We've got two games coming up, home games, big games. If you want to run up winning 3 games, we could basically try and secure our top 6 place now. This could be the crucial part of the year. We don't want to go on another loss. We don't want to lose 2 league games back to back. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting game. They'll be well up for it, but we've just got to stay patient and stay in the arm wrestle like we have done most games this year, and hopefully we can come out on top.
Yeah, prediction time, Paul. I'm going to predict that Parky's dishwasher works to start with. And what's your prediction for the game on Friday night?
Just for the prediction, I was just going to say about other players, in our squad.
Yeah,
we were just saying there about Longstaff. I mean, we've got Andrew Dixon there, who's not doesn't play, does he? What's happened to James Greenwood? We need to find out about him, don't we? He's like the forgotten man of Salford, isn't it? I don't know if he's been out on loan again since, but he's a big man, Rob. He's a massive bloke, and talking about big forwards and that, when he plays, he's usually decent, but he just seems to be injured all the time, doesn't he? So I think we'll have to ask Paul Rowley about that. But yeah, prediction for Wakefield. I mean, they've not scored many points this season, have they? So I don't know how they're going to go with their halfbacks. They've got Lionel and the Gale as well there now, haven't they? So you can see him causing a few problems, but I think we should be able to keep them under 16 points, and we'll win the game, I think. So I'm going to go Wakefield 12, Salford 29.
29-12, Parker. What's your thoughts on that?
I'll just wrote mine down, and we're not far off, me and Paul. Strangely enough, great minds and all that, or idiots, I don't know.
Same every week, Parker.
I've gone with Wakey 14, Salford 24. I think like what Paul says there about Wakey not scoring points. They came to our place and got a few, but they do struggle to score. We've not been sort of scoring as we have, as freely as we have previously. So can't imagine there'll be too many points, but hopefully we've just got enough to get past them.
So to keep it all nerves between all 3 of us competing, I'm going to go Wakefield 16, Salford 32. Partington with 2 tries from standoff. No. So hopefully, like you say, it's a big game, and it's a stress test for me on the team and where they are. And I'm just hopefully, like I say, these injuries have come, and like you said, Paul, when we went to Cass, the professional performance there, went through the gears, did enough for the win, and hopefully that'll happen again.
Yeah, I hope so, Robert. Like you say, there's other teams who are worse off than us at the moment. You look at the league, don't you, and the results, and there's some really strange scores, isn't there? I mean, I've been lucky enough to watch a few of the games last few weeks. I saw Huddersfield and Leeds, saw them get battered, and then Leeds are a funny team, aren't they? There's not a lot in it this season. The teams are big. It's so exciting, the league. I mean, I was following Leeds' game against Catalan on Twitter at the weekend, and what a performance they put in. So yeah, like Park said, if we can get a couple of wins here now, you could cement your place in that top 6. I mean, people keep saying to me, a few lads at work were saying, "Oh, St Helens will be the team again to beat. They'll win. They'll get to that grand final." I keep thinking, well, they've got to get in the playoffs first because they're not guaranteed in that top 6, are they? Because they're sort of hovering on the brink of it. So it's going to be really, really exciting towards the end of the season now. And yeah, I think it'd be a massive confidence boost to get that 2 points against Wakefield. It just bucks the trend, doesn't it? 2 defeats, and then you start getting a few bodies back as well. I think we'll be okay.
Yeah, so that's the end of this week's podcast. Parking, all great shows. Want to say big thanks to all our listeners who've donated via the Ko-fi, helping us with funding the programs and producing the podcast that you enjoy the most.
Yeah, very much so. Before we go, actually, just want to say about one of our listeners who obviously prompted us, as I mentioned earlier, and Paul's mentioned him to right a wrong from last week where we were talking about the 150 years book. And it's obviously by Graham Morris, and the first one back in 1990, whatever, was by Darryl Platt. But Graham's worked very, very hard, very tirelessly, so he don't want his work going elsewhere. Let's be honest. And I want to thank Louise Woodward-Styles for pointing that out and wish her well. I know she's just undergone some surgery, I think. So she designed the cover for the whole book as well, the cover front and back, which looks excellent. So I just want to wish her well. And obviously Graham, you're the man. We know that. And but to all the listeners, I say it every week, I can't thank you enough. You let us do this that we do. For us, it's a privilege to be able to talk about it and have a voice where a lot of people don't. But maybe one day we'll look to change that a little bit and you get your points over. But brilliant. Thank you for everything you do for us.
Yeah, another great show, Paul.
Yeah, enjoyed it, lad. Sorry it's a bit late getting on, but my missus went out tonight, so to sort my kids out and take my dog out and what have you. And he's always busy, innit, getting home from work late. So, but no, enjoyed it, like Parky said. I'm looking forward to getting that Graham Morris book. I mean, big shout out to Graham because I've got about half a dozen of his books that he's done over the years, and I've met him a couple of times. He's a lovely fella, so very, very knowledgeable about rugby league. And Louise Woodward-Style as well. She does a lot of good stuff. Big supporter, and the rest of the people who listen to us. Thanks for all your time and dedication, and donating the money for the. Is it Ko-fi, Rob?
Ko-fi, that's one.
Ko-fi, yeah, that's it. Yeah, so enjoyed it, Rob.
Yeah. So big thanks to this week's Devil in the Detail podcast. I'm Rob Paxton. Found on Facebook, Devil in the Detail SRD. Found on Twitter at DITD SRD. He found on SoundCloud, iTunes, Radio Contact, Spotify, and YouTube. Good luck, Reds. See you soon.